Before we sign off, let's go through a quick example of how we can set up our render queue. Easily accessible from the main folder in the project panel, I've got a render EXR and a render Qt pre-comp. When dealing with heavy renders, it's always a good habit to render individual frames before rendering video files. In the render EXR comp, all we have is our main work with nothing else going on. Right now, we're viewing our linear ACES CG image. Let's go ahead and add it to the render queue with Ctrl M. When rendering anything to send to the client, first and foremost, be sure to follow any technical specs that the post-production team defines. We'll use best render settings, making sure that the color depth is set to 32-bit. In the output module settings, we'll use PIZ compression for our EXRs. And in the color tab, we'll make sure that our output color space will convert the shot back to whatever color space the original plate came in our case, ACES 2065. This conversion applies only because we have our project set up to work in ACES CG color. I'd love to automate the naming and location of the render. For this to work well, it's important that you increment up your save files often and also name the project following the correct format defined by the technical specs for the show. Here's what I like to use based on my folder structure organization. Starting with the location of the project file, it will go up one directory, then up another directory, then create a folder called renders, then a folder called sequence, then a folder with the name of the project, and finally, the EXRs themselves will live in there with the same formatted name. Note that when you click on the path, it will open up to where your project file lives, not where the frames will actually be saved. But you can see where the automatic magic is happening with the way it shows the path here. Once the EXRs are rendered, we can import them back in to render out of QuickTime much faster. Note that we'll have to interpret the settings to make sure that it converts it from the ACES 2065 that it's in now back to our project's ACES CG. In the Qt pre-comp, I've changed the resolution to 1920 by 1080, and I've copied over the show color layer from the main work, making sure that it's not a guide layer. Now we can render a QuickTime with the show color baked into it for production to review. Again, be sure to follow any technical specs that the post-production team defines with resolution and format. A common file format will be Avid DNxHD SQ 8-bit. Audio output off, and in the color tab, we will make sure to fill the checkbox Preserve RGB. We do not want After Effects to apply any additional color conversions to this. We've already defined our color using our adjustment layer in the comp. The QuickTime will follow a similar naming scheme, but instead go into a QuickTime folder. If you're using a render farm or using a background render, with this method, you'll never need to touch the render queue once it's set up for a shot. All you have to do is make sure to increment up your saves. And that's how we set up our render. Thank you for taking the time to check out this tutorial. I hope there was something useful in there you were able to take away and incorporate into your workflow. Until next time, cheers.